Welcome to the new podcast, A Mick, a Mook, and a Mike, hosted by four-time Emmy-nominated producer Frank Pace, with retired New York City firefighter and Vietnam vet Billy O'Connor.
My brother
Frankie, how you doing today, pal?
Good, I'm doing good. I must say, your breasts are looking very ample today.
It's a lot for that lady, you know? Turns out I always wanted big tits, and look, now I got them. You actually, lefty. What time?
Mickelson.
Any lefty.
He's in his C cup, by the way.
Yeah, I swear to God, I saw him on television playing golf. I said, nice rack, Phil, nice rack. Yeah, very imposing.
Well, you can keep up with Phil in one category anyway, on the golf course.
I doubt I keep up with him on a golf course. Yeah, but I think I could fill out a fairly nice
C cup. That's pretty funny.
Getting old, brother, getting old. It turns out the bald head, the baggy balls, it all comes with the package.
Yeah, but it beats the alternative, pal.
Sure does, brother. Every day is a gift. Every day.
Yep.
It goes so fast, man.
I know. It goes like the speed of light.
But you remember, when you were 17 years old, to get to that 18, back in New York in the day, 18 was the drinking age.
Yeah,
very
but you were
important.
drinking at 14.
Oh, yeah, but very important for an Irishman to be legit,
Right.
From 17 to 18. That year took forever. When I was 17, I couldn't wait to be. Of course, I was drinking in bars since I was 16.
Of course.
You know those joints, they check library cards.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, I'm 18, look at my library card. But that year took forever. But now, I remember 40 to 50 kind of flew. 50 to 60 was what happened.
I remember. Yeah, I wrote in our blog that time flies. Tempest fusion. Time flies. 1 minute I'm a 19-year-old guy rooting for Artis Gilmore to play basketball at Jacksonville University, and the next thing I know, I'm 71 years old, and Artis is 72, and it's holy Christ, where did the time go? I mean,
and you see what your grandchildren do. My grandchildren anyway. I mean, obviously with the separation, with the plague, I haven't been able to go into New York for a year and a half. And man, the difference with kids and us, because it seems like when I got to 70, it was like I always was in pretty decent shape. And I just feel like I jumped off a cliff.
Well, that may be mind over matter. You might say, well, I hit 70, now I'm old.
I don't mind if you don't matter.
I better start feeling old.
Maybe. I don't know. I mean, I don't. My wife says she sees my mind slipping a little bit. But
as long as she doesn't see the other parts of you slipping.
Hey, so far I still got snap in my celery, pal. The problem is when you still got lead in your pencil and you got nobody to write to.
That's a terrible visual, by the way.
Snap in my celery?
Don't go there.
Lead in my pencil?
Yeah, don't.
With
please.
Nobody to write to?
Please don't go there.
But anyway, yeah, I mean, it's just like when you reach a certain age, everything accelerates.
Do you remember the first drink you took in a bar? How old you were?
Yeah, I was I was 16. It was a place called Adams. It was a real dive. And everybody in there was underage. And if it wasn't for underage people, they'd have no business.
Right.
I mean, right across the street from Frisch Field. Remember Frisch Field in the Bronx? Frankie Frisch Field?
Yeah, I remember Frankie Frisch, but I don't remember Frisch Field.
Yeah.
The first drink I took, I was 15. There was a bar called Ozzy's in White Plains, New York. And then soon thereafter, we started going to the Old Vienna in Valhalla and the Taconic Brauhaus. It seemed like the German themes would serve anybody. And we just stayed away from the Ratskeller at Maxwell's because that's where my dad drank.
That was an unwritten rule.
Yep.
You never drink in the bar your old man drank.
Yep.
Ever. And there was two good reasons for that. Number one is you didn't want to walk in and find out what your old man had done in there the day before. And he certainly didn't want to hear what you had done in there. Right? I mean, that was an unwritten rule.
Yeah, but it came about when I was 20 or so. I was home from college, and went to the Old Vienna, and there was my 16-year-old brother. And what could I do? I wasn't going to tell him because who am I to talk?
Oh yeah. But you know what? There was one term back in the day. I guess they still use it, but it sort of summed up all middle class guys. You say, so what do you drink? I'm a shot in the beer guy. Shot in the beer guy automatically lets you know this guy's economic status. He was a blue collar worker, the kind of guy who showers after work instead of before work.
Yeah,
I'm a shot in the beer guy.
I wasn't a shot in the beer guy. I was a sweet drink.
Oh, you were an umbrella guy.
A Singapore sling
Oh.
kind of guy. A Tom Collins kind of guy.
Oh my God Almighty!
And then I graduated to rum and coke. But I
you know what?
we've talked about this. I got 2 pair of glasses. I'm a freaking.
You'll see twice as good.
I'm a freaking mood.
You'll see twice as good. You know what a rum and coke is called if you put a twist of lime in it? That's a
Cuba Libre.
Cuba Libre. That's right, a free Cuba.
But we've talked about this before. I never liked the taste of booze. I still don't like the taste of booze. I like the taste of NyQuil better than I like the taste of. No, I'm serious. NyQuil's sweet. It's got a little kick to it. Little hangover to it.
We got a guy who's Derek. You know what we got here? We got a guy who's a NyQuil addict.
He's like, I have a little shot of NyQuil
He's got
every
a little
night.
flask of NyQuil.
Yeah. I mean, I enjoy a good taste of NyQuil. I mean, I don't like the taste of coffee, really. I don't like, I can't taste.
Let's go with a ham sandwich of NyQuil, I think. It goes good with it. A little mustard, a ham sandwich, NyQuil.
And I can't drink wine. I can't drink coffee.
Never met a Guinea who couldn't drink wine.
I'm a Guinea who can't drink wine.
That's amazing.
It makes me crazy. I have no sense of taste.
Well,
I mean, I do have a sense of taste, but I don't like the finer things in life. I don't have a taste for.
When I cook pasta, I swear to God, and I'm a pretty good Italian cook, oddly enough. You wouldn't believe that, but I am.
I'm a pretty good Irish cook too. I can boil potatoes.
You can boil anything. You can boil roast beef if you're Irish.
I can boil a can of beer.
An Irish 6-pack. That was an Irish 6-course meal, right? A 6-pack and a potatoes.
6-pack and 5 potatoes.
Yeah, 5 beers.
5 beers.
But I cook good Italian, and I swear to God, when I do cook Italian, I like to put on opera, put on a little Pavarotti, nice bottle of wine when I'm serving it. Of course, I can't drink the wine. And I was in a village in Tuscany, and my ex-girlfriend, Mary Teresa, had made all the reservations for me. And I met my daughter and my son-in-law, my 2 daughters and my son-in-law in Rome, and then we drove to Tuscany. And when they were doing the reservations, they said, there's B&B in Tuscany. You don't have to stay there, but you have to eat there. Mm-hmm. So we went there, and it was a family. It was like I was inside somebody's house.
Right. Yeah, there are a bunch of places like that in Italy.
It was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to tell you, the meal they came out with, I think was the best meal I have ever eaten, not at home. Because it was a little girl, guy and his wife, sitting in their kitchen. Maybe there was 2 other tables besides ours, and they come out with this fantastic meal. So now I'm sitting there.
Let me interrupt this story because we haven't done 2 pieces of business yet. We haven't introduced Derek. So,
well, I addressed him, but we didn't introduce him.
And we haven't said who today's guest will be.
Today's guest.
Peppy with a Y Castro.
Peppy Castro, my childhood buddy. I've known Peppy since he was 5 years old. 4 years old, maybe. Old enough to throw a rock at each other from across the street. We weren't allowed to cross the street, but we were old enough to throw rocks at each other. That's how far we go back. And just how it is with your childhood friends.
Yep.
You never lose contact with them. And even though you do lose contact with them, 40, 50 years later, you can call them up and nothing's skipped.
So back to Tuscany.
Oh, yeah. So anyway, I said to the food came out. It was amazing. And I'm eating, and they're drinking a pitcher of homemade wine, homemade red wine. That's what segued me to Tuscany, because you'd not be able to drink wine. And my daughter's saying, oh, this wine, it's unbelievable. Oh, this wine. And I'm like, of course, I can't drink wine. I can't drink anything.
Right.
And my tongue was hanging out looking at it. And I was like, oh, Dad, sorry, Dad, I forgot. No, don't worry about it. Meanwhile, I was like,
yeah, I can't figure out these people that can taste grapes. They can taste orchids. They can taste raisins. They can taste dates. They can taste coffee beans. They can taste vanilla. I can't taste anything but kerosene.
There was an
No
old
matter
joke.
how good the wine's supposed to be.
There was an old joke about a guy sitting at the end of the bar, and drunk. And this other guy says, I can taste anything, any alcohol you've got back there. I'll tell you what year it was distilled, what kind of alcohol. The guy, yeah. Gives him a thing, goes, it's Johnny Walker Black. He says, I'd say it was distilled about 1941. Because that's Napoleon brandy. He says, I say that was distilled about. So this drunk is watching him, and he's, fuck this guy. He takes it, pisses in a jar, and he tells the bartender, put this in front of him. So the guy goes, oh, Jesus! He goes, tastes like piss. The drunk says, yeah, how old am I? Oh, but yeah, I mean, some guys get that and end up shit with the wine when they go like, it has a nice bouquet, and then the drippings, the legs. What do they call it? Legs?
I don't know what they call it.
When it's going down the side, is it legs?
Yeah, it's legs.
Derek?
It's
We'll ask the refined member of our threesome.
basically legs are the amount of alcohol the wine has in it. So the more legs they have, the higher alcohol.
I got to tell you, I'm sitting in a bar one night, and this is after we'd done business. It was a Saturday night, and I had thrown everybody out. Now it's 4:00 in the morning. Bar is closed. Of course, I'm half shit-faced. And I'm drinking with a buddy of mine, Glenn Seymour. And we're drinking. I says, I had Guinness. What was the other thing I had on tap? Another type of stout. It was Guinness and Murphy's Stout, which is from Cork City, which is where I was born. And so I says, you think you can tell the difference between Guinness and Murphy's? He goes, yeah, I think I can. I said, so do I. So, 2 glasses down. He takes a sip of the Guinness. He goes, I think that's the Guinness. That's the Murphy's. Of course, I had him turn around when I poured it. By the time we got done that night, we were drinking, trying to find out the difference between this scotch and this scotch. We couldn't tell the difference between Galliano and cherry mint. We were just demolished. But I think after a couple of drinks, nobody's going to tell me. They can tell me that this is a good wine.
Yeah, that's because you served the good wine first, and then after that, you gradually work yourself down to the dregs.
Exactly. It don't make any difference after the first couple of drinks.
I was watching last night on replay, City on a Hill with Kevin Bacon, and they got a young gal on there who's an IRA runner, and she was sitting in the bar with Kevin Bacon's wife in the show, and they were drinking Guinness. And she said, you don't sip that, lassie. 4 swallows, and that's it.
That's about right. 4 swallows. Yeah, I'll tell you something about Guinness. Never order Guinness in a bar, ever, unless you look around the bar and you see a lot of people drinking Guinness. Because it gets stuck in the taps and it gets stale and it's terrible. But it's got to flow. If it's flowing, man, and the Guinness in Ireland, you could stick a spoon in that Guinness and they'll sit up and look at you. I mean, it's thick and it's 16% alcohol, which of course they can't serve here.
Right.
I think the most they're allowed here is 6%, which I don't understand. What is that all about? Why can't they serve a German beer here with 14% alcohol like they do in Germany?
Because we're woke.
Bullshit. Because you can drink Fleischmann's, which is 92% whiskey, right?
Well, you can't drink wine the way you drink it in Italy, because when wine comes into this country, they put sulfites into it, preservatives. So the wine you drink in Italy is different than the wine you drink here. You could have a really fine red wine in Italy and have the same red wine here, but they added sulfites to it, which is preservative, and sulfites give you headaches and hangovers.
Wow, that's interesting. I didn't know that. Now, if you import wine from Italy in a bottle, is there sulfites in it?
Yes, sir.
Oh, there is.
Yes, sir. They have to put sulfites in it.
Well, no wonder the wine tastes so good.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you, the Guinness in Ireland is night and day.
And you can drink more of it because you don't get hungover.
The best thing I ever figured out, because alcohol dehydrates you, that's why you get the hangover, is if you can bring yourself to drink 6 or 7 glasses of water before you go to bed after you're drunk, you probably won't wake up with a hangover. You might piss yourself. in the middle of the night, which is a bit awkward. But
Well, when I was drinking those Singapore slings, I would I would chew the ice cubes just to give me some more water.
did you get an umbrella in it? No, take
No.
it back. I want an umbrella.
No, they didn't get. I wasn't at that high class of place. They give us this.
If the guy can make a Singapore sling, that was high class
Yeah.
in my day.
Yeah, for sure. Well, what do you say we get Peppy on the phone?
Oh yeah, man! I haven't seen Peppy now in a bit. I'd love to talk to him. And he's an interesting guy. You're gonna love Peppy.
Derek, can you? Go ahead and
Yes,
call up
yes,
Peppy?
yes. Let me get Peppy on. Okay, guys, I have Peppy in.
Peppy with a Y.
Peppy with a Y.
Why?
Peppy Castro. Oh,
Why Peppy?
Peppy Magoo, as we like to call him.
Peppy Magoo.
I want you,
Yeah,
Peppy.
legend
How are
of
you,
my
brother?
mind.
It's been too long. It's great to see you, buddy. For our audience out there is Peppy Castro of Blues Magoos fame, Balance fame, Barnaby Bye fame,
Yeah, hair.
hair. Well, we got
Hair,
all
when I
that.
had
brother.
hair.
And
What's with all the
rocking the planet, rocking the planet.
What's with all the B's in the names?
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. What is the deal with the? Is this
You
just,
know, it just kind of fell into that. But I did have wiggy bits in there, so
One W.
I did have one obscure band called Wiggy Bits. But yeah, it just went down that way from the Magoos. Then Barnaby Bye hit. Then Balance hit. You know, I came up with Balance because I originally wanted to have a balance of, you know, when you look on a stereo, you know, we're like when snakes, they don't have ears, you know, so we have ears. So if you look at a stereo, every stereo has a balance knob
Right.
for left and right.
Right.
So I figured, hey, you know what? Balance of nature, balance of music, balance the whole thing. I thought Balance was kind of a cool name. So Balance came on. And then I just stayed with the bees. But, you know, I got
so
rocking
were
the
you the
planet
guy
up.
that came up with the name Barnaby Bye and
No,
Balance?
you know who came up with Barnaby Bye? It was my little sweetheart from way back when, who you knew, Marianne Christine Kelly.
Mary Kelly, huh?
Yeah, she wrote a poem called Barnaby Bye and the Band of Head.
So let me ask you a question, Pep. I mean, the Blues Magoos was obviously the first launch for you. And then Balance came after Barnaby Bye. Barnaby Bye was second.
Yeah. Well, what happened was I did the Magoos all those years.
How long were you in the Magoos?
Magoos did 5 albums. The 3 with the original band, 2 with a rehash that I did. And then, so I think you got to figure 3 to 4 year span, maybe.
And what was your
You
first?
know.
What was your first hit?
The first hit was We Ain't Got Nothing Yet. Circa 1967.
Wow.
And we toured for the whole summer of 1967. It was the Blues Magoos, the Who, and Herman's Hermits, and that was the tour that broke the Who in the United States. So that was kind of wild because, you know, I got to know Keith Moon and Liv.
And Liv.
And Liv.
Unfortunately, he didn't.
Yeah.
Liv, no,
unfortunately.
and it was no surprise to me.
Really,
You know.
huh?
Why don't you expand on it a little bit?
Yeah, quick story. Well, first of all, you know, I was enamored with the Who because, you know, they were just breaking in the United States and they were smashing up the gear and everybody was like going insane over these guys, you know. And the Blues Magoos, we had electric suits, and then poor Herman's Hermits had to come on and sing "I'm an idiot I am" to the kids. You know, you gotta figure 30,000 seater, and half of them were moms with kids to see Peter Noon and Herman's Hermits.
Wow.
And the rest were all these freaking whacked out hippies to see the Magoos and the Who. So it was the craziest thing. So one night we're in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and we all went on the same plane. That's it. We all traveled together. The whole crew, the roadies. The roadies did the bus and truck, but the 3 bands and the Souvenir guys and the managers flew. So we fly into Chattanooga, Tennessee. Now, mind you, this is 1960, summer of 1967, and so it's going to take a while to check in, like, you know, 50, 60 people into the hotel. You know, we usually take the top few floors of the hotel, and the whole tour. We check in and run this place, right? So Keith Moon's like, "Hey man, come on, man, come on, Coach T, let me get a drink." Now I'm like 17, so I can't even drink in the first place. But I'm like, "Oh, cool, man. Keith wants me to go and have a drink with him. I'm good. I'll go." So we go walk across the street. It's 2:00 in the afternoon in Chattanooga, Tennessee, 1967, in the summer of '67. And it's 2:00 in the afternoon, and we walk into this like railroad flat of a bar. And as we walk in, you can see a row of maybe 12 guys drinking at 2:00 in the afternoon. And the minute they open the door opens up, and we walk in, all of a sudden you can hear a pin drop. And all these guys are sitting at the bar, and all of a sudden I see like 10 heads go like, and they're looking at the door to see what the hell is walking in the door. And it's me and Keith Moon. And all of a sudden, me and Keith Moon stand there, and all of a sudden we hear, "Hey, y'all, get a load of these two fairies." Right? And Keith Moon, without any hesitation, picks up a bar stool and cracks it over the guy's back.
Wow.
So now within 30 seconds, we got 12 good old boys on us.
Wow.
And they're beating the living daylights out of us. And I get out of there, my shirt's ripped, my chest is bleeding. I had a fake sealskin coat that I'd bought in a woman's store in fucking in Michigan, north of Detroit, right? I get out with my life. I run across into the lobby of the hotel. And I said, "You guys better go get him. He's getting killed over there."
And you're 17 years old now. You got the long hair, and of course Keith has got the long hair.
And on our roadies were like, these guys were hired guns. They were like, ex-Marines, black belts, all this kind of stuff. Somehow 4 of them ran over there and fished them out. But this is like, that's one of like many stories that are going to go into my book just on Keith Moon.
What's the name of the book called, Pep?
If these could talk.
The book is going to be called The Prince of McDougal Street.
The Prince of McDougal Street.
Yeah, apparently. Well, you see, the Blues Magoos came out of a cafe called the Night Owl Cafe, which was on 3rd and McDougal.
Now, you were 16 or 15 when you started at the Night Owl?
I was 14.
Wow. So you were the house band at the Night Owl Cafe in the Village when you were 14.
When I was 14. And Billy, literally, one night I was on stage in the middle of a song. I saw these big dudes walk in, and I knew they were detectives. The minute they walked in, they just stuck, all the hippies are in there, and then, people at the coffee house. And then these 2 6-foot-something guys come standing there in suits. And I went, "Oh, shit, they're after me." I take my guitar off. In the middle of the song, I run off the stage to the right. I go out the back door, up the staircase, up to the roof of the building, hop over to the adjacent building, then over to another building, come down the stairs and run. Take off. Now, my mother's calling me from the Bronx saying, and Billy, I was born Emilio. I was born Emil, so I grew up as Emil until I started playing guitar. And she goes, "Emil, the detectives are here. They're going to put you away in the children's village in Dobbs." Wow! Because I'm not even old enough to be out of school. So then 2 months later, God bless this guy, a guy comes into the Night Owl Cafe, and I get off the set because we played 4 sets a night, 6 nights a week, right? It was like 20 on, 40 off, 20 on, 40 off, 20 on. And we would do this all night long. And the guy would rotate like 3 or 4 bands in a night, So this guy gets me as I'm coming outside and says, listen. He goes, "Hey, can I talk to you for a second?" And I'm looking at this guy, I'm going, "What's this guy want?" And I'm saying, "Okay, he's not a detective, but who is he?" So he says, "Listen," he goes, "I'm a truant officer." He goes, "I can see you're not on the streets, and I can see you doing something." He goes, "But we got to do something here, because if we don't, they're going to put you away." So then he goes, "Listen," he goes, "let me ask you something." He goes, "If I could get you signed out of the school system with your parents' consent, would your mother do that?" Because apparently he's already been speaking to my mom. And I said, "You know what? I think she'd do that." He goes, great, great, great. Because at this time, Billy, you'll know, my father died when I was 5 months old. My mother remarried. I moved up to the Bronx when I was 4 years old. My stepfather had 3 heart attacks and a stroke.
Yeah, I remember very
My
well.
mother nursed him for 26 years. So,
I
Billy
remember
and
your
I
mother,
grew up
Donnie,
together.
really well, and I remember your father really
Yeah.
well.
So Billy and I, we're brothers. We're Bronx boys for life, so we got this thing covered. So I said, yeah, I think she would. He goes, great. He goes, when are you going to be 16? And I looked at him, my face dropped. I went, I'm going to be 15 in 2 months. and then his face dropped. And he was like, And so here's what the guy did. The guy says, okay, I tell you what. He goes, I'll come by Monday morning. Now, mind you, I'm living at the Hotel Albert, which is like this infamous hotel where all the village rock and roll bands came out of, the Magoos, the Lovin' Spoonful, all this kind of stuff. It's now a shrine to those days. It's a condo on 10th and University Place. And if you walk into this condo and just talk to any of the doormen and say, can we go in and see the photos? They'll give you a tour of the whole place because all the bands that used to stay there, the Magoos and all that stuff, are all on the walls in this hotel.
The Albert Hotel's like a museum almost.
Yeah, it is. It's like a rock museum condominium, So this guy picks me up at 7 o'clock in the morning on a Monday morning, my day off, right? Drives me up to DeWitt Clinton in the Bronx, takes me in to the school office, goes into the office where they got all the records, goes in there, forges my birth certificate so that in 2 months I'm going to be turning 16 instead of 15, and legally got me signed out of the public school system 2 months before I turned 15 years old. Can you imagine?
That's incredible. So
Peppy,
yeah.
what was it like when you first hit? What was your first? I know your first taste of success. What was that like?
Well, let me tell you. You got to understand, I'm 14, 15, 16 years old in Greenwich Village, living on my own. So the stuff that happened before the hit record to me was so insane because I'm literally on display every night, playing. So you got NYU there. So I got 3 chicks I'm banging for 9 months simultaneously, for all 18, 19, and 20 going to NYU. That's going on. I'm sleeping with girls every other minute. Sometimes,
they're all 5, 6 years older than you too, these girls. These girls are
sometimes, oh man, I'm telling you, the stuff that's going in the book's going to be, that it's not going to be coffee table, it's going to be toilet. It's going to be beyond real. But the greatest rush was the first time I heard We Ain't Got Nothing Yet on the radio.
Wow. To this day,
that was
still...
like WABC?
Yeah, WABC. Yep. Well, actually, I heard it on the radio first out of ABC because it didn't, you don't get played on New York radio until you're a hit everywhere else.
Unless unless somebody's paid.
Yeah. So no, even then you can't, because they don't even get paid until the numbers show all across the rest of the United States, or at least all the ABC affiliate stations are on the record. So I think the first time I probably heard the song was maybe in Cleveland or Detroit somewhere, because the Magoos broke out of that Midwest, Cleveland, Detroit, Chicago whole Midwest rock and roll area there, which was huge, and then when we heard it in New York, then it was like, whoa, that was it. Once you heard yourself on New York radio, you like that, you're done.
And
you don't think it's ever going to end. You think like this, I made it for life,
Yeah.
And then 3 years later, you realize that after they paid the photographers, the agents, the managers, the booking, this guy, the tax guy, all this kind of stuff, the gear, all this kind of stuff, that you got ripped off, and you grossed $250,000 and you're penniless.
How long did it take before the not the talk shows, because they were not there, but the TV shows started calling, make appearances?
The minute you have a top 10 record, then that's it. Then you're doing Where the Action Is and Hullabaloo and Shindig and
Smothers Brothers, Jack Benny.
Yeah. Yeah, and then you get the variety shows like we got with Jack Benny. That was huge.
Yeah.
That was Craft Music Hall, and it was imagine this for something I take in my treasure chest. Holy shit! It was Jack Benny was the host. It was starring Henny Youngman and Maury Amsterdam, Liberace, and for the kids, the Blues Magoos.
For the kid, I can hear Ed Sullivan saying, "And for the kids, Blues Magoos."
You know, for me to be 17 years old and sitting in the green room and seeing and hearing Maury Amsterdam and Henny Youngman standing there with violins while they're getting made up, like doing
Surreal.
like Shecky jokes, like they're just off of the top of their tongue, like they have an endless reservoir, you know, like, hey, you know, the time I did this, I took it to my mouth, bum. You know, it was like, you know, it was that kind of stuff. And my mouth was just completely like,
And your
I was
mother,
like,
of course, must have been amazed when you were on the Jack Benny show. I mean, Jack
oh my
Benny
God,
was
my
an icon.
mother. Listen, I used to fall asleep on my mother's breast when she would watch Jack Benny on a Saturday night, you know? And so to find myself there going, holy crap. I think the best moment for me and my mom was, you know, after the Magoos, somebody turned me on to a woman who was in the Broadway cast of Hair, her black chick named Dolores Hall. And she was looking for material. So her producer called me, and she cut 4 of my songs back then. She had a record deal on United Artists. And so when she cut all the songs, she said to me, she said, hey, you know, they're looking for somebody down at the theater to assume one of the lead roles, you know. She goes, I think you'd be great. I was like, really? Oh, great. So girl sets me up an audition. I'll never forget it. She lived in the building next to the Dakota on 72nd Street. She said, come on down, we'll go down, we'll take the train down. I set up an audition for you, right? So she sets this audition up for me. We take the train here. I get the Biltmore Theater was on 47th, 48th Street, you know, between Broadway and 8th. And 3 blocks away, we're walking. And from 3 blocks away, I start to see a line. Kids. And I'm just going, like, a bunch of hippie kids. I'm looking, I'm going, wow, a lot of kids. Wow. You know, and then I'm going another block. I'm seeing more kids. And then I'm realizing these are kids to audition.
Wow.
For Hair. So finally I turned to Dolores and I go, Dolores, I said, are all these people auditioning? She said, yeah, but you don't have to be concerned with that. And I was like, wow. So she walks me in. They walked me right in, I guess, well, because I was coming off of a hit record. So, you know, I was a little rock star or something, you know. I went in there. They took me immediately. I sang 1 song and they offered me the job.
Wow.
Boom, right then and there.
And
so that was great.
How many shows did you do?
I did 8 shows a week for a year and a half.
That was the best shape I ever saw you in. You were like ripped. You were like,
oh man, yeah, no kidding, thanks.
Yeah, no, you were ripped because you were on stage all the time.
Yeah, I was popping speed to get through 8 shows a week.
Yeah, well, we had Susan Egan on recently, and Susan is a Broadway star, and she said that how many steps did she do a week? Like 30,000 in a show or something.
Yeah, and you're singing and dancing. Now at this time,
I'm swinging from a rope on the side of the theater in a loincloth. Are you kidding me?
Well,
Tarzan, and had to get off, and just, you know, get on the stage without killing myself.
Now you were Burger in the show, right?
Yeah, I had 2 roles. I had Burger and Wolf. Because the guys were smart. The guys who wrote the show had a runner of the show contract. So that meant that they could go in, as long as they called backstage a half hour from any road show in anywhere in the world, and Hair was like everywhere. You know, they had shows in Israel and France. I mean, it was playing everywhere. These guys could play anywhere in the world, and as long as they called before the half-hour curtain and said they were going in and do the show, they would go in and do the show. So when they would call in, so when Jerry Ragnar would call in and say, hey, I'm coming in to do the show tonight, I'd get a call like, Peppy, Jerry Ragney's coming in. I'd be already dressed to go on as Burger. And then he'd go like, Jerry's coming in to do the show tonight, Peppy. You're doing Wolf. So I'd be like, oh, okay. Then I have to change my clothes, put on a whole other outfit, put my mind in, okay, I'm not burger tonight, I'm what? Okay, now I got,
Wow.
yeah, it
Now,
was crazy
at
stuff.
that time, did you already have the afro, or did you grow
Oh
it for
yeah,
the
hell
part?
yeah, that's why I got the gig. Are you kidding me? They saw me walk in and I could carry a tune. I think they were like, hey, this guy's good, but let's go with him. We don't have to do anything here. He doesn't have to put a wig on or anything. He's just like, boom, go there.
And then
But Billy, the best moment for me and my mother was when my mother came to the show.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
When my mother came to that show, because every night before I went out and did the show, I would get a mark because the roll of burger had to go into the house. You literally had to strip when you came out. You had to take your stuff off and, hi, my name is George Burger, and I don't like the name George, but you can burger. You can call me banana burger, cheeseburger, Pittsburgher, and all the while you're taking off like a farmer's outfit, like a farmer's outfit, like an overall, right?
Right.
With clips. So you drop the overalls and you got a little buckskin brief, and that's it. You're standing there with a wireless mic, and you're supposed to find a bald-headed guy in the audience, scream at him. They hit him with a follow spot trooper from the back of the theater, and you go, Mom! And you're this hairy guy with no clothes on is hugging a bald-headed guy in the audience. So I would go over to the stage manager every night and I go, who's in the house? Who's in the house? And he'd go, well, Oleg Cassini is in, the third row on the aisle. So every night I'd get a mark of somebody that I was going to hit, when I went out there. But I swear to God, when my mother came to the show, I don't think she blinked once. It was like,
fantastic. Yeah, but that's
well, that was the first show that had nudity in it, didn't it?
Yeah, it was the first show that had nudity. Yeah. So it was like 24 people. Then they had sirens and strobes. I mean, you hardly even saw anything. But
if Billy was in it, you wouldn't have seen anything.
No, the real show was backstage.
Really? Oh yeah.
We had gays, junkies, speed freaks, alcoholics.
Billy's all of those things. He would have fit in perfectly.
You name it. Everybody.
And
was
that's
in
where you first met the Alesi brothers?
Yeah, that's where I met Billy and Bobby Alesi. Yeah. Yeah, they were in the cast.
Who were they?
Those are the guys that formed Barnaby By with them.
These are two singer-songwriter twins. They were in the cast called the Alesi brothers. They're rather well known in Europe, and they've had amazing careers with their songwriting. They've worked with McCartney, Quincy Jones, tons of people.
Wow!
And their songs have been cut like me by a lot of people and stuff. So I always build Barnaby By as the most famous, unfamous band because we all had great individual, bios and stuff like that. But we started Barnaby By after Hair closed, and we played one live show in Manhattan, and the biggest guy in the record business was in the house, a guy named Ahmet Erdogan, who started Atlantic Records. He was chairman of the board of Warner Communications. Ahmet had little acts like Bette Midler and Led Zeppelin, and Crosby, still, just the little guys, Donny Hathaway.
Other than Clive Davis, he was about the man, right? Ahmet Erdogan was about as big as it gets.
Yeah. So we lucked out. We started at the top. The band didn't happen, really, because what happened was we were afraid to sign with Atlantic without having Ahmet anchored to us. So we told him we wouldn't sign unless he co-produced with us, which was a huge mistake because Ahmet was all over the world and we were left to our own devices. And then everybody in Atlantic Records was like, don't touch those guys because if you fuck it up, you're out of here. They're Ahmed's pets, So in hindsight, it was probably a huge mistake because there was a guy in Atlantic Records, a guy named Arif Mardin, who was probably one of the best arranger, conductor, producers in the record business. And we should have waited 6 or 7 months to try and get him. But, that's the way it went. So then years later, after all being successful and doing different things, we reunite. And we're in the Long Island Music Hall of Fame. And every year we usually do 1 or 2 shows out in Long Island and sell out a theater, and we just have ourselves a lot of fun. So it's all good.
When you were doing hair, did any of your music friends come to see you? Any of your rock and
yeah,
roll
tons.
friends?
Yeah, the rock and roll friends I had were so busy doing rock and roll, you know. But yeah, I had a bunch of friends, and also, I was like a little bit of a snoot, you know. Rock and rollers didn't give great credibility to Broadway back then, and even when Hair came out, I remember, having a hit record, and so who are my friends? My friends are the Turtles, the Buffalo Springfield, all the acts that came out of New York, the Left Bank, the Lovin' Spoonful, all the acts from the West Coast. There was a huge music scene, the Woodstockian love power thing.
Yeah, the Laurel Canyon group.
Yeah, exactly. So when I heard that there was now going to be a show called Hair on Broadway, I was like, oh, give me a break. Oh, now they're trying to cash in on the long hair hippies and Broadway. And I thought it was like, I was like, I guess somewhat of a proverbial knee-high snob or something, thinking, oh, please. Then now they're just going to run around with hair and God, I'm in the real culture here. We're playing the festivals and and all these places all over, and the Avalon and the Fillmore, and all these great places. And so a few years went by. I knew one of the original members who was still in there, Shelley Plimpton, who was a waitress she was actually the hostess at the Night Owl, and I knew she was always in the show. So by the time I ran into Dolores Hall, and Dolores Hall invited me down to see the show before she set up an audition, I went and saw the show. And when I went and saw the show, I sat there and I looked at the show, and all I said to myself was like, Peppy, you fucking asshole. I said, this is fucking great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
It was so good that when the show was over, Dolores says, come backstage. Come on, I want to introduce some people. I swear to God, I was so damn cocky that when I saw this show, I wanted to do it so bad. And I thought it was the greatest thing I'd ever seen. Broadway, the fly space, all the stuff that they have to work with, the budget, the scenery changes, costumes, lights, band. I mean, all this kind of stuff. I was completely blown away, and I couldn't believe how ignorant I was. So I go back, and Dolores brings me back, and she introduces me to the production stage manager, right? Who was like the company manager, and he was like, "Oh, everybody in theater is gay, so they're all gay." So this guy, they called him Dragon Lady, and so I went up to him, and he said, "Oh, hi," and he gave me a big hug and everything. It's like this, and his name was Fred, and I said. And I literally went up to him. I wanted to do the show so bad that I went to him because I knew they were looking for someone, right? And so I went to him. I said, I just saw the show. I can't believe it's fabulous. I said, but I got to tell you, I said, I've never acted a day in my life, but I know I can do better than what you have up there.
Good, cool.
I told him that. Thankfully, I was able to back it up. I walked in. I sung one song. They hired me. Like literally on the spot.
Now, was that the impetus for you with the love of plays? I mean, you did Zen Boogie later on, and then you did Rockin' the Planet. Was that the impetus for you to start being interested in writing plays?
Totally. The Hair opened me up to rebel theater. Not so much traditional theater, but kind of rebel theater, because Hair was rebellious. The Broadway establishment did not like Hair. They were like, how you dare you put these street urchins on a stage? We're actors. This is our craft and stuff like that. And these kids came up from the streets, a lot of them, in New York. So Hair was not liked by the establishment as much. Now it's like
until they started making money. I'm sure when they started making money, they changed their attitude.
And when it became the biggest show on Broadway, so I was in the biggest hit on Broadway, in the original Broadway production. So that carried over for years. But what happened was when I was in there, I got a message in my mailbox in the theater. You know, you have mailboxes in the theater and stuff, and fans will leave things and stuff like this. Oh, I saw you. And stuff. So one day I go to my mailbox and I have a casting notice from a casting agent in Manhattan saying, "Hey, we saw you last week do the show. We thought you were great. We'd like you to go up for a new show." So I called back, like, "Great, I'd love to get great." So I had no idea what it was, right? But they wanted me to go up for a new show called Pippin, right?
Wow, yeah.
Which was iconic. And so what happened was I felt at that point in time, I said, you know what? If I can get a role being the original in a brand new musical, it's worth it for me to stay in this acting shtick instead of music, you know? So I said, okay, let me go. So I went, did an audition. Great. Call back. They gave me a call back. Went back for a call back. Great. We love you. Call back. This went on like 4 or 5 times. Then Equity calls me and says, listen, they have to start paying you now by equity rules. They just can't keep taking your time up constantly. So now I'm getting paid to go back to these callbacks, right? I did nine callbacks. I was like a basket case, right? By my ninth one, I know I'm down. So mind you, they went through maybe 1,000 guys in LA and 1,000 guys in New York. My ninth callback, I go down to the theater, and there's a theater's there, and it's a work light. It's just there, and I can see the suits out, and the producers and everybody are out there, and it's just me and this other guy. And so I go, oh shit, this is it. So okay, this is crunch time. So now everybody comes up on the stage and they go, you guys were the best. Oh my God! And the guy next to me was the guy who got the role, whose name was John Rubinstein.
Mm-hmm.
Now, John Rubinstein was the son of Arthur Rubinstein.
Wow. Yeah.
Okay.
Little nepotism there, huh?
So there went my gig, right? So they just came up and they said, Peppy, wow, you and John, you were unbelievable. You beat everybody out. It took us months to get this thing, but it's just you guys, and we only have one role. So Peppy, we're going to go with John, but we'd like you to be the understudy. So, mind you, I'm hearing this news, and I'm tanking for like months of going to the cleaners every day, freaking out, nerves, going, what am I going to sing today? What am I, but times 9 callbacks, and I'm like so depressed that, that it was like close but no guitar, and so my body was just like, oh, okay. So I was like, all right. But it said, but we'd like you to be the understudy. And I can't believe, I must have been maybe 20 years old, 21 years old. And I went, let me ask you something. I said, go ahead. I said, the show opens up in New York. I went, yeah. It's a big hit, right? It's a big hit. John's out doing the show every night, having a ball, everything's great, right? It goes successful. You go to LA, right? They said, yep, that's what we would do. We would go, I said, okay. And John goes to LA to open up the show in LA, right? And he went, yep. And I said, and you bring in some big name to sell tickets and take over the role in New York? And so they couldn't back away. They went, well, yeah, that's kind of how it's got to go. And I went, see ya.
Yeah. So you made the move.
Well, I don't know if I did or not. It's one of maybe 2, or it's if somebody asks me, is there anything I regret? I regret the thought of not having taken that understudy to have seen where it would have went, because I feel like I eventually would have gotten on stage, number one, to do it. And but I was so bummed, and I went, you know what? F this. I said, when I write a song, nobody tells me how to write it. Nobody tells me how to record it. Nobody tells me how to sing it. I'm not singing anybody else's words. I'm not doing anybody else's material, nothing. I'm my own self-contained thing. And that's when I went off and I started Barnaby Blind.
And really, Broadway didn't pay that much back then either.
Well, it was, to a starving musician, it was fine. I mean, yeah. I'm no, not like today's standards, but no. If it was 1970 and you're making $1,500 a week, you're happy.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. But,
You know.
you had a right to be cocky. I mean, when you think about it, you were 14 years old. I'm serious. I mean, you're 14 years old playing in the Night Owl. And I'm
Yeah.
guessing this is 1963, 64?
No, 65, 66.
65, 66. So everybody was in the Village in them days. Now, you're playing that many shows a day. That I got to say, that's probably where you learned, where you got enormously better.
And you didn't just walk into the Night Owl. You had to play the Village Music Hall. You had to play the Cafe Bazaar. You had to play the Cafe Wa. You had to play all these other little secondary coffee houses till you
graduated to the Night Owl.
But how you showed up on the Night Owl's radar?
But playing that many gigs a night, I mean, exponentially, the band must have got tremendously better. I mean,
Well, Billy, I got a good one for you. Okay, so now Joe Mara. Well, yes, and this is the time when the mafia is running the Village.
The mafia was running the Village.
Yeah. I mean, if the riots were going on in the city, the mayor was always calling up the social clubs down in Little Italy saying, "You want to get the riots out of the way." We'll look the other way on the laundry for the hotels and the garbage and stuff, but you want to just stop the riots, and the riots would stop in 24 hours, that was the social club down on Mulberry Street, The lawyers were all Italian, everybody was Italian, and Joe Mara was Italian, right? So, and he owns the Night Owl. So now the Blues Magoos this is one of my all-time favorite lines. This line goes in the book. Okay. So the Blues Magoos are there, we're doing this, and we're starting to realize that, we're smoking dope and we're getting high and everybody in the village. And we're starting to feel this thing like, hey man, everybody's starting to explore with music. We're going to try and get into this little psychedelic thing because we had an echo machine that fell off of the piano. And when it fell off the piano, we went, oh no, we broke our echo machine. It was like a guitar tape echo that we all chipped in to pay for. It was like our big acquisition at Manny's Music, right? And when we plugged it back in, it was going, woo, 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 woo. And we went, oh no, and it was on a speed selector with tape. So then we said, how do we stop that? We were like freaking like we broke the machine. So then we took the speed selector and went, woo, 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 woo. Yeah. And so it started changing speeds, and then all of a sudden we went like, hey, this is trippy. This is cool. And then we said, we got to start doing stuff like this. So now the Blues Magoos are turning from writing nice, simple songs and maybe doing some covers. So all of a sudden we're going to start doing flippy psychedelic stuff. Joe Mara hated it. Hated to see these young little guys, Magoos, turning into all this druggy psychedelic shit. So he called us in the back of the house one day. He goes, hey, this is Joe Mara, my God. Hey, you fucking lames, you come here, come here. He takes in the back in the kitchen. He goes, you fucking lames. He goes, you stop playing that shit. He goes, you play that shit anymore. He goes, and you're fucking out of here. I'm going to fire you. Oh, Joe, come on, give us a break. No, hey, no, that's it. No fucking way. That shit don't go. I don't like that shit. You just play the normal shit. All right, Joe, all right. So now we're all pissed off that Joe is trying to control us, right? And then we get together, and we're going like, fuck Joe, man. Come on, we still got to do it. Let's do this shit. This is our music. Joe's not going to tell us what to do. So we're doing this stuff. So one night, we get up there and we worked all this stuff because we were allowed to rehearse in the basement of the Albert Hotel. Right. So can you imagine the band that a hotel gives us the basement to rehearse in? So we would be rehearsing in the basement of the hotel. So now we got this new crazy psychedelic arrangement thing we want to do, right? So we get in on one of our sets and we start doing all this crazy shit. And all of a sudden we see Joe walk over to the lights and he starts taking the lights and he's fucking moving the lever in this. And we're going, whoa! Joe's into it. He's doing the fucking lights. Really, Joe was saying, get the fuck off the street. So now, So now we get off. Joe's like, come here, come here, come here. Walks us into the back. He goes, hey, he goes, didn't I tell you fucking lames, if you do this shit, you're going to be fucking fired? And we're going, oh, come on, Joe. He goes, you fucking disrespect me. He goes, you're fucking fired. So now we're going like, we're in shock. Like, oh shit, here goes our bread and butter. Now we're going to starve. We don't have a place to play, 6 nights a week. And we go, Joe, come on, man. Come on. How can you do this? How can you fuck us like this? Joe Mara turns around and goes, hey, if you can't fuck your friends, who can you fuck?
That's a great line.
Right?
Yep.
I never forgot it. Joe Mara, the Night Owl Cafe. If you can't fuck your friends.
Now, I mean, the guys that used to come into the Night Owl, I know you became really good friends with Richie Havens and
oh yeah, Hendrix came in and jammed with us on Sunday.
Hendrix came up and jammed with you on the stage, and you were like 16, 17 years old.
Yeah, on a Sunday afternoon. And then all the acts that came into town, that was the place to go. When the acts came into town and stayed in the Midtown hotels, and they were doing the Ed Sullivan show and stuff like that.
Now, what acts are we talking, Pep?
Oh, all of them. The Animals, Dave Clark 5, Stones, everybody. Everybody came into the city. The only place they wanted to go was to see the original acts of New York. And the only place you could see that was in the Village, was in the West Village, in that whole little area, the Cafe A Go-Go, the Gaslight, So really what I saw the Village go from folk to electric.
Wow.
Right? Because when I started out, the coffee houses had guys like Dave Van Ronk, Phil Oakes, Tim Hardin,
Eric Anderson. Eric Anderson was kicking around then.
Yeah, Eric, Dylan, everybody.
Dylan was still there then. Before
Dylan was Bob Zimmerman walking around with his guitar. Havens was the same thing. But then little by little, these electric bands, because of the British invasion, started popping up, like the Love and Spoonful. And there was a handful of bands, and the Magoos were in that first wave. So, we were one of the first few acts. I mean, you can name them on your hands, the ones that came out. You're talking the Rascals,
Felix.
Love and Spoonful, the Magoos, the Vanilla Fudge. There were only so many New York bands that made it in that era, that were out of New York. Whereas in LA, you had bands like The Doors, The Love, The Seeds, Turtles. You had all these other acts. And then as time went on, you started getting into Frank Zappa and things like that, But Mama Cass from the Mamas and the Papas, she was a waitress at the Night Owl.
Was that right? She was a waitress at the Night Owl.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah. Before she was in the Mamas and the Papas, and then the Monkees were put together as an act. They were literally like formed to be the Monkees in this whole idea. So
yeah, I know Mickey pretty well. Mickey Dolenz. He was hanging around the stage wanting to direct. He became a pretty successful director later on, but I was doing Lopez show and a couple other shows then, and Mickey wanted to direct, and he became a pretty fine director as well. I still see him occasionally.
Oh, listen, the guy had talent in his
Circus Boys
when he was a kid.
Circus Boys, yep.
Yeah.
He was the original star of Circus Boys.
Yeah, but the funny thing is, you'll always find that actors want to be rock stars, or most people want to.
I think everybody wants to be a rock star. What are you kidding? Everybody like to have the life you live.
I'm saying I keep waiting for that to die, but it still has its mystique. Like when I was going out with Diane, Billy, she was a flight attendant. Back then, flight attendants were revered.
Yeah.
Oh, you get to see the world. It's like this glamorous life, And then all of a sudden that faded away, But I remember I had a friend, Brandon DeWild. Brandon was a child star actor. He acted in the movie Shane.
Shane, yeah.
With Alan Ladd and stuff like that. He would come down and all he wanted to do was hang out. He just wanted to be a rock star. He just wanted to sing. He didn't want to act. He wanted to play his guitar and he wanted to sing. Look at Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp's crossed over. All those years he's been brilliant as this, God's gift to acting, crazy, hippest guy on the planet, But, really at the end of the day, all he ever wanted to do was to get up with Aerosmith and put all that pirates gear on and rock stuff and be a rocker, you know.
You also
So
you also went on to write a bunch of jingles, didn't you? What are some of the more famous jingles you wrote?
Oh God, I did 20 years of jingles in a row, so I did everything.
Well, you did what you had to do to survive. Frank often says that. He says, in show business, you got to be multi-talented and diverse. You got to.
Well, the thing is, when I got into the jingle business, it was still at a time where if you did a commercial to musicians who fancied themselves as serious artists, you were a sellout, you know. Now, mind you, by that time, I'd already been completely ripped off by the worst business on earth, the record business,
Yep.
so which have the biggest whoas in the world. So to me, there was nothing more of a sellout than signing to a record company, you know. So I wasn't buying it and I wasn't having it, you know. And not only that, you didn't get into the jingle business. You don't even ask into the jingle business. You either have so much damn talent that, you know, it just pops up in front of you, but you get asked in. And I was lucky enough to get asked in. I never knocked on a door for it. It came to me, and you know, when it came to me, I was like, "You in the Magoos? Would you write for me? I love you, Magoos. I love you." You know, like boom, 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 and I started thinking about it and everything like that. And actually, when I got into the business, I probably got calls, 2 or 3 calls a week from musician friends asking me and singers, "Can I get them in?" You know, and then I would say, "Well, it's like this: if you have to ask, you're out." You know, because I didn't knock on a door. You know, some guy heard me. I went down to a studio. A buddy of mine who wrote "Reach Out and Touch Someone." You know, reach out and touch was a huge. What was it? Was it "Reach Out and Touch Someone"? It was for the
Phone company, wasn't it? Phone
yeah,
company.
yeah, it was something for the phone. Yeah, reach out and touch someone. I forget what it was. And he wrote the copy on that, and he was having problems with the stuff, and he asked me would I come down and help him on a spot. I said, sure. I went down there. And the guys that owned the production company were like, oh, would you work with us? I was like, well, okay, let me think about it, you know. And then I took the gig. And so over 20 years, man, I've done everything.
Was that more lucrative, Peppy, than economically than Broadway?
Well, for me, it was because it was steady. You know, it wasn't as much money as you could make in a single killing. You know, like having a hit record,
but steady.
But it was steady, and if you got enough things on the air, you were earning a good, you know, living. Plus, if you wrote a hit and you were part of the production team of a hit, back in those days, all the arrangements and the whole production of that particular spot stayed with the company that won it. So, for instance, you know, I did the quicker, thicker, picker upper. I did that for like 15 years. You know, that thing ran for 15 years. You know, chocolate is scrumptious when it crunches. That's why I love Nestle Crunch. That must have done 10 years. You know,
wow.
Juicy Fruit, Kodak. I even had silly things like, you remember Quaker Oats? They had something, it's the right thing to do, you know, with Wilford Brimley. You remember who Wilford Brimley was?
Sure.
He goes, you know, and they put this fussy old cuss and they go, you know, I'm Wilford Brimley for Quaker Oats. You know, it's the right thing to do, you know. And at the end you'd hear, it's the right thing to do. Ta-da! So they put that on that went on every tag of every Quaker Oats spot that they did.
Yep.
So, you know,
royalties
I
get paid.
I got a residual for singing that thing,
yep.
You know, and, you know, even as a group, you know, my buddy in Balance, who was part of the writing team with us, we worked for probably 3 weeks just to get 3 notes, but every music house in the business was working on it to get it 3 notes. Thankfully, Dougie, my partner in Balance, won it for us, and so this thing ran forever and ever and ever. Every Saturday and Sunday, I would hear this thing, and I would go ka-ching every time I heard it. And here's what I heard: by Menon. Yep.
Wow.
Yep, yeah, that's it. 5
Yep.
minutes. Yeah.
Yep. That was it.
3 notes.
5 minutes. That
Wow.
was it.
Yep.
That was it.
And Manilow started out in commercials too, didn't he? Barry Manilow.
Yeah, Manilow. Yeah, he did Pepsi and all that kind of stuff. As a matter of fact, Barnaby By, we used to open for Barry down at the Bottom Line. Remember that club?
Sure, the Bottom Line.
Bottom
That was
Line
a
in
great
New York.
club. Didn't
Yeah,
hold
that
a
was a
lot of
great
people,
club,
but
yeah.
it was a great club.
Yeah, we opened up for Barry when he was playing for Bette Midler. Down
Yep.
there and stuff like that.
Yep.
Yeah, Barry started out in
Of
Jingles.
all the groups you played with, Pep, I got to ask you, of all the groups you played with, was it the most fun with the Blues Magoos because they were so big, or did you have more fun later on when you became more mature?
Yeah. The Magoos are the most memorable, and most rewarding, definitely, because there's no way you sit, you're talking to Jack Benny, and the Smothers Brothers, and and I'm standing next to Liberace and all those old guys that I grew up with.
Is he really gay, Pep? Is he? Because I can't believe that Lee is gay. I'm still having a problem with that.
Yeah, no, they screwed us actually on that thing because we had electric suits by then. And
the electric suit. We have a picture, I think, of the electric suit. I think,
and we wanted to wear the electric suits on the Kraft Music Hall, right? But because they had Liberace there, they fitted him in an electric suit outfit. They put the little tinsel lights on him and stuff like that. And so they did it. They took our idea from us. They told us, no, we'd rather you not do that. And then they put Liberace on there with electric clothing and the candelabra, and we were like, all right, But,
the electric suits gave you a lot of problems, though, right? Did they give you shocks and shit? I remember when you had that thing; it was remarkable. He touched the little button.
I looked like what's his face, Mad Dogs in English, and Joe Cocker.
Joe Cocker.
Joe Cocker used to sing like. Like that, and I'd be singing like that because these suits had 9 and 12 volt battery packs, right? And you could turn them on, and there was a speed selector, so the lights on the suits had a speed. So and my pickup in my guitar would pick up the signal. Oh yeah, there's Zen Boogie, right? So they would pick up the signal. So as I sweat, there were little metal clasps that kept these things closed, and I would start to get shocks in my neck from when my body would get wet through the battery packs and stuff like that. So I'd be like, I'd be playing like this, and then finally after a few nights of that, I said, listen, forget the 12 volt battery packs. I prefer to have 9 volt shocks instead of 12 volt shocks.
I don't know if you remember, but I swear to God, when you were 14 and you were dropping out of Clinton and you said you're going down to Village to take a shot, and I did everything to talk you out of it, everything. I said, no, man, you got to at least finish high school. At least finish high school. For Christ's sake, Peppy, don't drop out. And you went down to Village. About a year later, you pulled up in a big white limousine. You had the electric suit. Your hair looked like you combed it with a firecracker.
Oh, funny.
And where were you?
Me,
I think I remember that.
Yeah, and then 2 years later, I was on my way to Vietnam. With the prescience, Frank, that prescience, the American Nostradamus strikes again.
Meanwhile, I get my induction, like you. Did you sign up or you were inducted?
I enlisted. My old man was nuts. I wanted to get the hell out of the house.
So he enlists. Now, mind you, I'm this hippie in the Village, and I'm getting my token, my one-way token to Whitehall Street.
Uh-huh.
And I'm going, oh, fuck, I got to do this. Oh, my God. This is like, I can't kill people. This is like, I'm a peace and love and flowers and psychedelic music and smoking dope. No, don't do this to me, God. So I go down there. And I remember I always heard if you make it to the nurse, they don't want you, right? So then I'll never forget. I went there and I got to the nurse, and so I'm at the nurse, and they're saying, would you like some lunch? This is after everything, the physical and everything. And she goes, would you like some lunch? I was like, no, thanks. I was just like, oh, I was scared out of my wits. She goes, it's on the Army. It's okay. You can have some lunch. I said, no, okay. And I said, so what am I? And I'll never forget this black chick. She looks at him. She goes, honey, Even if it's World War III, you ain't going to be hearing from the Army.
And you were like, yippee! Yippee!
I went out of that place. Oh!
Do
I
you,
was like, holy shit. Now I'm like, I'm a fucking MAGA idiot. I'll fucking kill for this country. I'll do anything, vets are my passion, I donate all the time, my buddy takes care of my place. He's a Silver Star vet. I give him a truck. He's on my auto insurance. He renovated my barn. He lives in my barn. He's a great guy. He's even got a pilot's license. Little Puerto Rican guy, 72 years old.
And they weren't giving silver stars away over there. Let me tell you something. Well, you know Johnny, our buddy Johnny from the neighborhood, Johnny Vinciguerra.
Yep.
I mean, this guy was a little Italian buddy of ours growing up with us. This guy would start a fight in every bar we walked into and then bail out. You know what I mean? Like, he'd start the fight and
he
be
started
gone.
and then get out.
Yeah, and I'm sitting in Germany, and the Stars and Stripes were our only link to the United States back then, because you didn't have all the internet and everything. So I'd wait for the Stars and Stripes every day, and I'm sitting in a cafe, and I cross the top of the Stars and Stripes. Lance Corporal John Vinciguerra saves his whole company, and he ended up getting 2 Bronze Stars, I think 2 Purple Hearts.
Wow.
And he got nominated for a Silver Star and didn't get it, and he saved his whole platoon. So, yeah, they weren't giving him away over there. I mean,
no.
I got to tell you a quick story about Johnny, and I don't want to divert from Peppy, but he'll appreciate this.
Come on, let's get the neighborhood shit.
But Johnny, he told me when he was over there, right? What happened to Johnny was they walk, and everybody walks abreast. Because you don't walk in a group because you're easy pickings, so you walk abreast. Well, the guy at the very end stepped on a mine, a landmine. Of course, he was obliterated. And Johnny was in the middle, and he got blown against a tree. So now he couldn't breathe. And he was against the tree, and he started, what a Marine says, calming up, like he needs a medic. He says, and Billy, he says, the corpsman came up, and he says, and on his way up, he said, I looked down at my pants, where my prick was, and it was a pool of blood. And he said, I unbuttoned my pants, he goes, and my prick was hanging by a thread. And of course, the Marine corpsman comes up, and he starts working on his chest to help him breathe, and Johnny says,
and Johnny's going,
wait a minute. He says, never mind my chest. If that falls off, he goes, just let me die. And to this day, he's still got a dog leg right.
You should get a Silver Star for that.
Yeah, they should have gave us some, but that'll show you what it took to get a Silver Star. I mean, they weren't giving them away over there, man,
Nah, man, we got, I had so many buddies, especially even in the village, A lot of guys went in the village. They were in bands. They took them.
Yeah.
We know everybody. We got guys that didn't come back, guys that came back with, plates, screws, things, all that kind of stuff. It's why I don't do a motorcycle even. Everybody I know who had a
motorcycle dies. Or in an accident.
Motorcycle, they're all walking around with pins and screws in their bodies.
I
think that there's a statistic about that the odds of having an accident on a motorcycle is like 90%. It's like ridiculously high.
Oh yeah. Everybody I know.
Well, I never drove it because I was a drunk. I mean, I must have lost about 10 cars driving into walls, telephone poles.
Yeah, but you don't feel it then.
But on a motorcycle, I was dead beat.
Yep. Hey, before we wrap this up, we've got a little thing we do called This Day in History. So I would like to share it with you because it's pertinent to the business that you were in. So this day in history, 5/19/1945. What happened on this date in history in 1945?
So this was the end of World War II, right? Just coming to the end of World War II. So it has something to do with the USO, maybe?
Well, no.
Okay.
I'll give you a hint. His first band was the Detours.
First band, the Detours, in 1945?
No. It's relevant to this person, though. His first band was the Detours. No guess.
No guess.
Okay. He was the master of the windmill technique.
Still no clue.
He wrote, I can't explain.
Get out. You mean I can't explain by the Who?
Well, yeah, the Who is the answer. Pete Townsend was born this day in 1945.
Is that right?
I was going to say Pete once you said can't explain.
Yep, Pete
Well, he
Townsend.
got it. I never would have got it.
I used to sit up every night in 1967 smoking dope with Pete Townsend after the shows in the hotel, and me and him and this guy named Tom Wright, who was the tour photographer, went to school with Pete, and so he was one of the Blues Magoos' best friends. So once Townsend was like, "Oh, this guy, you know, Tom, I went to school with Tom, and you're his best friend." So me, Tom Wright, Townsend, and few of the Magoos, we'd stay up till 3:30 in the morning smoking dope, you know. And they literally went to a school where it was art to drop a car from the roof down onto the ground and then film it.
So what about the drugs, Pep, in them days? I mean, you were obviously you smoked a lot of weed.
Were you finished with that story?
But yeah. No, it's
I'm
just
sorry.
Pete Townsend. Yeah, the minute you said it.
So you smoked a lot of weed, but I mean, you avoided the heavier drugs, right? You didn't get. I mean,
yeah, you know, I tried everything once, kind of deal. You know, did the acid trip and was like, whoa, nope, I could be jumping out a window and thinking I'm flying. This is not a good thing. We're not going to do this. And then the coke gave me nosebleeds, and you know, you wake up in the morning,
yeah.
And I said, it's not worth losing my voice over. No more.
But you saw a lot of guys go down the wrong road. I mean, of course.
Oh, Jesus, yeah. As a matter of fact, I just did an interview 2 days ago about a guy named Bert Summer. Bert Summer, I think, played at Woodstock Festival. He was one of these guys knocking around. Good-looking kid. He did hair as well. And by the time he was maybe 20-something, the guy died overdosed. Just junk, you know. You know. I remember one of the best kids I ever went to school with. This guy was like the Adonis. He was like the guy you wanted to look like, you know. I remember 3 years into the Magoos and out of school and everything like that. Guy had no teeth left, and it was just like, you know, just went from this great-looking specimen of health and everything, gorgeous, to gutted.
Yeah. There are a lot of
rotted out, and stuff like that. So you know the drug things. My last the last mescaline trip I did was me and Sissy Spacek in Central Park. You know, I used to go out with Sissy a little bit. She was a sweetheart. She was a great girl. And yeah, but I stayed away from all that stuff. So the weed ended up being the mainstay. The drinks never happened for me.
Yeah, you were never a big drinker. I remember that. You were never a big
No,
boozer.
because what happened was the Magoos, when I was 13, we played the Raleigh Hotel. And these guys, I'm 13, they're 18. So Ronnie Gilbert from the Magoos, we're there. It was the Borscht Belt, right? The Concord, the Raleigh Hotel, all that kind of stuff. So all the hip Jewish couples from Brooklyn and stuff would go up to the mountains, but the kids had to be pacified. So they hired the Trench Coats, which was the pre-Magoos.
That's
you know,
right.
that was me and Ronnie and the original Magoo team. And so we went up there, and I'm probably all of 13 years old and just learning how to play. And Ronnie Gilbert was turning 18, and he blew out maybe a 10-ounce glass of vodka, and he said, "You're not a man unless you drink this for my birthday." So I chug-a-lugged the whole thing, drank the whole thing, got chemical poisoning, went unconscious, almost almost died, killed myself. And after that event, I remember waking up going, maybe you don't want to drink, you know. And luckily, before the alcohol became a real mainstay in my life, you know, the weed was all over the village, you know. And I'm running around with Timothy Leary and you know, Maureen McKeever and all these crazy people. So yeah, it was you know, I lucked out.
So Pep, let me ask you before we. You were just a great guest, Peppy. I loved having you on. It's been so long since
you're
I've
my
seen
brother
you.
for life, man.
Love you for life is right.
You
But
are my true brother.
what are you? Besides the book, what's coming on with you? What's going on with you? Let me know what's going on.
I have an exclusive for you. Okay, my partner in Rockin' the Plans is Steve Lieber, my former manager. Steve's an icon. If any of your audience wants to know who Steve Lieber is, just go Steve Lieber, entertainment icon, Google it, and you'll see all the platinum artists, all the things he's done, all the great stuff.
And
Anyway,
also you have a website, right? PeppyCastro.com.
yeah, I don't even use it anymore. You're better off just finding me on Peppy Castro Official on Facebook. You know, it's still, my website's still up, but I don't even use it. But you can find me on Facebook. That's probably the easiest thing. So anyway, so Steve goes into the Andy Warhol Foundation and probably forked over $1 million for the exclusive rights to option Andy Warhol, for Broadway. You know, live.
Wow.
So he has the exclusive rights to it. There's a gentleman, a knighted sir, by the name of Sir Trevor Nunn. Sir Trevor Nunn directed Cats. He directed Les Mis, Aida. He's an icon. He ran the Royal Shakespearean Theatre for 20 years in the UK and stuff like that. He is directing, and he is also the lyricist. Steve opened it up to me after he had a problem with a very well-known person who put in 6 songs in the show. And I went at it and brought my partner, Doug Katsarison from Balance. And so I have 6 songs in the new musical called Warhol, which will open up in London 2022, around April.
Great.
It's casted. Sir Trevor Nunn is the director. He's also the lyricist. I'm one of the composers. The theater is booked. So
Fantastic.
That's
Fantastic.
That's terrific.
So when you can just see the power of what it'll look like when you see Warhol on the marquee, you know.
That's awesome.
I mean, Andy Warhol's Coke he sold for $50 million in Sotheby's, just as Coke.
Yeah.
So I wrote a song called "A Coke is a Coke is a Coke," because that well, that was Andy's phrase.
Yeah.
Andy was like, you know, the whole deal with Warhol was that he made commercialism art.
Yep.
You know, like a Campbell soup can,
Soup can.
and things like this. He made all this stuff art. So he had a phrase where he said, "A Coke is a Coke is a Coke." If you're the Queen of England or the bum on the street, everybody loves a Coke. Everybody drinks a Coke. A Coke is a Coke is a Coke. So Trevor
This is
Nunn,
exciting stuff, Peppy. I'm so glad to hear
love
this.
it.
Just
yeah.
wonderful.
So that's a biggie. That's a biggie. You know, I'll probably have another 15 minutes.
Yeah,
for that one.
I guess.
Yeah, Andy.
I guess that Peppy has been one of those guys that's just found his way to a career. You know, a lot of guys burned out, but Peppy,
Bless.
he went from Blues Magoos to Broadway to jingle writer to Broadway composer. I give you the greatest amount of credit in the world.
Oh, thank you, Mike. No, I've got gold for Cher, for Kiss, Diana Ross. You know, so it's been along the way. And you know, when Billy said, you know, don't quit high school, don't quit, you know,
well.
Not listening to me is always the best advice.
You go the other way for sure. Derek,
I have the distinct whatever it is of the distinction of telling people that when they say, "Oh, you didn't finish high school," I said, "No, I didn't go to high school."
You're the best, Peppy. Derek wants to ask you a question.
Well, I got a question. This is a big ask, but since you're a jingle writer, I'm going to put you on the spot. So the name of the show is A Mick, a Mook, and a Mike. Okay?
A prick, a gook, and a fart.
So...
Okay, a Mick, a Mook, and a Mike.
Right. So a Mick for the Irish fellow, a Mook for the Italian fellow, and obviously the Mike for the podcast. So...
You want me to slate something?
Yeah. Could you do us a little jingle? A little something.
A jingle?
I mean, there's a guitar in the background.
Oh, hold on. Let me see if I... Really? Who knows if this thing's even tuned? Let's see. Yeah, I do have a guitar in the background. Tools of the trade, right? And ears. Can you hear that?
Yes.
Yeah.
A Mick, a Mook, and a Mike. Who'd ever thought they'd be right for each other? A Mick and a Mook and a Mike.
Thank you, brother.
I haven't a clue, but let's say Mick the Mook and a Mike. Come on, come up with another line.
Don't know which one I
like.
They'll talk your head off into the night.
That's great.
Awesome.
That's great
Awesome.
stuff. Peppy.
Thanks so
Anyway,
much,
you
Peppy. You've been a terrific
You
guest.
get the idea.
Yes,
Yeah.
you've
That's
been a
fantastic.
terrific
You've
guest.
been terrific, man, and great hopes for you with
Yeah, we're
Warhol,
due for
man.
hang.
It's going to be a
You
whole
know, I
lot.
call. You know, my nickname for Mr. O'Connor here now is Hemingway,
Yeah.
because who becomes an X-rated comic at the age he did? I mean, come on, give me a break.
Yeah.
And goes to college.
And one more time, the name of the book that's coming out. Give us the name of the book. One more time.
It's gonna be called The Prince of McDougal Street. When I finish it, it'll be The Prince of McDougal Street, a psychedelic pioneer. That's
Fantastic.
that's as far
That's
as I got so far.
That's
but
great.
Look out for Warhol and Rockin' the Planet.
Rocking the planet.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Peppy.
Peppy.
Love you,
My
brother.
pleasure, guys.
Great.
Love you,
You guys
pal.
are a great
Fantastic.
trio.
Always. Great seeing you, buddy. My brother.
Always.
Take care, Pep.
He was a great guest. He was a great
Fascinating guy,
guest.
right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And Derek going left way, right way. I guess my name is Mike now.
yeah.
I guess. Well, I guess my name is Mike now. It's good that Billy tells his guests to do some research on us,
Yeah.
because you know.
So anyway, Mike. So now I don't know how to say Mike in Italian. So how do I say Don? I can't call you Don Cheech anymore. I got to call you Don Michael.
Michael. Speaking of that, we talked about mobs and people. Are this week? Who's the Fredo? You have our Who's the Fredo guest spot.
What family we doing now?
We're
Lord
going to do The Sopranos. The
knows.
cast of The Sopranos. Who do you think would be the Fredo in the cast of The Sopranos?
That was a great cast. That's a tough one to call because they were all. It was a really good ensemble cast.
I'm smart,
Yeah, I'm smart.
not like everybody says.
I
Like
got
dumb.
passed over. I deserve respect.
I'm smart.
I'm smart. I'm not dumb. I'm smart. And I want respect. I'm your older brother, Mikey, and I was stepped over. I'm smart.
Who do you think?
I would go with Paulie Walnuts. I think.
Really?
Yeah, because they're all good. I mean, I don't see any weak links in that cast.
Well, Paulie didn't get whacked though.
You got to be whacked to be the Fredo.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
Let's see.
There's
There they
the
all
cast.
are.
There's the cast. Who do you think would be the Fredo? I would think it would be Big Pussy or Christopher.
Yeah.
Well, Christopher was really important in that show.
I don't care how important you are.
He was the Fredo for sure.
Yeah. you
Yeah.
go
I
with
haven't finished
Christopher?
the series, but I can tell that
Big Pussy was a Bronx guy. He used to bang around the Bronx. This guy here, what the guy who played that's
Steve. That's little Steven.
no Steven's over here.
Yeah.
But this guy,
That's Christopher.
that's Paul.
no next to
That's Paulie.
Christopher, Paulie
Oh, it's
Walnuts.
Paulie Walnuts.
He got busted about 6 or 7 times. That guy did hard time.
He was doing hard time before he got cast.
Yeah,
He was.
yeah.
Wow.
And I understand little Steven got his part on The Sopranos because he was at a rock and roll award show.
Yep.
And he put on a phony wig and put on a pinstripe suit
Mhm.
just to play games, and he comes out and gives the guy a reward. And who was sitting in the audience but David Chase? And David Chase says, "That's my what was his name in the part? Stevie in the part was little Steven. Who did he play in the part?
What are you talking about?
In The
In The
Sopranos.
Sopranos.
What does little Steven play in the part? What the hell's his name in The
Well,
Sopranos?
whatever.
Yeah, whatever. So that's how he got the role anyway.
Steve Sharippa, he was running a comedy club in Vegas.
Is that right?
He still runs a comedy club in Vegas.
It's about being in the right place at the right time
Yep.
again.
Yep.
There you go. I mean, what kind of a run did he get out of that Van Zandt?
Yeah, for sure.
And
For sure.
Peppy, by the way, we had on before. Peppy was the guy who got Steven Van Zandt to hold up the Bronx bookie for him.
Absolutely.
So before we go, I want to mention again, Lucy Lang is running for Manhattan District Attorney. Her election is coming up soon in June, first week of June. So I want everybody to get out and support Lucy Lang, who's, of course, the daughter of our good friend Stephen Lang, who appeared on the show. And go to amicamookanamike.com. What's that website again?
A Mick, a Mook, and a Mike.com.
Right. amicamookanamike.com.
A Mick, a Mook, a Mike.com.
And you can get our books there.
Yeah.
We got another book
We
coming
got
out.
a new book coming out.
in
I'm really
June.
excited about it.
Lamar's Gamble.
And it's hard to believe that we could be writing about corruption in the NFL because we all know that's as clean as.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's no way, right?
The day is long. It's as clean as the day is long.
No corruption in the NFL. I mean,
Yeah.
because there's no corruption in the Catholic
not
Church.
anymore. Not
Not
anymore.
anymore.
Not
no.
anymore.
And there's no corruption in the Catholic Church. There's no corruption in corporations. There's no corruption in the government. I mean, because we're clean as a whistle.
We're clean as a whistle. With that fine note, say goodnight, Derek.
Good night, Derek.
Good night,
Good night.
Derek.
Good night, Derek.
Good night, Frank. And thanks for everybody for looking in.
Who's our guest next week? Lauren Sesselman.
Ooh, Lauren Sesselman.
Yep.
An
Olympic medalist and a knockout.
And a complete knockout,
Yep.
without a doubt.
But she's a great gal. She was a former soccer player at Purdue, one of the greatest scorers in the history of Purdue. And the Big 10, Big 12 now, where Derek's daughter played recently. So we'll have great time with Lauren.
So looking forward to it, Frank. Sounds great. Thanks again for looking in, everybody.
And don't forget, amicamookanamike.com.
.com.
How's that, Gil?